regions in the key frames. And for non-key frames, we just do simple interpolation. So this will reduce the complexity or implementation cost significantly. Okay, so here is an illustration of showing how to construct a grid flows here. So for this region, we find its correspondence in the next key frame. Then this object, this monster move outside the frame, or this part move outside the frame. So we terminate the grid flow. Then for this one, there is a newly appeared region here. So it did not appear in the previous frame. So there is a new grid, a start new grid flow. Then we initiate a new grid flow here. Then we find its correspondence in the next frame. So we can construct various grid flows in the video shot. Then for the grid flows, we impose different constraints. Okay, so to maintain the shape information and the depth information, and for shape information, we need to consider the spatial shape and also the temporal shape changes. Again, for the depth information, we also need to maintain the spatial depth magnitude and also the temporal depth changes. So we need to derive effective constraints to achieve this goal, to maintain the information in the spatial and temporal information in the stereo video. So here, for the shape preservation, there are quite a few papers which have proposed efficient constraints for maintaining the shape information. So here we focus on the depth constraints to maintain the depth information. So we derive effective constraint to maintain the spatial depth magnitude and also the temporal depth changes. Okay, so we discretize a video object into dense 3D points. Then for individual 3D points, we can construct the grid flow of the 3D points. Okay. Then for each grid flow of the 3D points, we impose such kind of constraints so that we can maintain the depth magnitude distortion and depth change distortion. So here we formulate the depth distortion into the spatial depth magnitude distortion. Okay, so we calculate the square of the difference between the disparity values of the original version and also the retargeted version. We also, the other thing is to characterize the temporal depth distortion. So here we define the depth change distortion. So here we use first order derivative of the disparity values along the time. Okay. Okay, so here we impose such kind of 3D depth, the depth distortion to maintain the 3D effect. But since we already have quite a few shape distortion constraints and also the temporal constraints, then we impose additional depth constraints like for spatial depth distortion and temporal depth distortion. So we have different kinds of constraints. So sometimes these constraints may conflict with each other, especially for a very limited resource. For example, if we would like to reduce the width of the original frame into 70% of its original size, because the size reduction is not very significant. So with so many constraints, we can still find feasible solutions such that we can optimize the visual quality of the retargeted video. But if we would like to reduce the size of the video to 50% of its original size, then the resource the resource of the non-salient background will become very limited. So since the resource become very limited, these constraints, the spatial and temporal and also depth constraints, may conflict with each other. Okay, so due to the constraint conflict, we may not be able to find feasible solutions for the reduction. So for this example, we cannot find a feasible solution. Okay, so our approach is try to relax some of the constraints, so that if we can do some relaxation on the constraints, we don't need to impose so rigorous constraints, so strict constraints to many of the regions. So we can relax some constraints on some regions, so we can find feasible solutions even we resize the video into 50% of its original size. Okay. So with relaxed constraints, actually we can find feasible solutions for like a 50% reduction. So what types of regions we can relax the the depth constraints, the temporal constraints on this region, so that to avoid such kind of constraint conflicts. So the question is that is it necessary to consistently resize all temporal correspondences? This is the goal of temporal constraint. So we can maintain the temporal coherence by imposing the constraints of consistently resizing all temporal correspondence for one region. But in general, our human visual systems actually are not equally sensitive to all objects in the 3D scene. So our human visual system will be more sensitive to the objects in our central viewing field, like this one. Okay, so our HVS will be more sensitive to this object. But for those objects which is like on the boundary, or like the depth boundary of the depth view and depth boundary on the depth view, actually is far away from the central field, and our human visual system is much less sensitive to these objects. Okay. So since our visual system is less sensitive to these objects, and actually we cannot see the object very clearly. So if we relax the temporal constraints on these objects, although it will introduce some temporal incoherence artifact, but actually since our visual system is not sensitive to these objects, so such kind of temporal incoherence artifacts actually we will not perceive such kind of artifact clearly. Okay, so which will not cause any big problem in the viewing experience. Okay, so based on the masking effect of human visual system, we can choose to relax the temporal constraints on this the so-called isolated region or the non-paired region here, and so we will have more margin for those constraints, the shape, depth, and temporal constraints, so that there will be less much fewer constraint conflicts. So we use quite a few test videos to evaluate the human visual system masking effect. So like the random dot pattern and the orientation-specific textures. Okay, we use different kind of textures and we change the it's kind of a video. So we use a square here to simulate a salient region, For the boundary region, or for the boundary non-paired region, we change the size inconsistently to some extent to evaluate if one subject can notify such kind of temporal inconsistency. Okay, so we do experience like this. So we use random dots pattern, and we also use the orientation specific textures and change the size on the boundary non-paired regions inconsistently. So to evaluate the masking effect of HBS on this kind of temporal inconsistency. Okay, so we can see that this is a curve of the masking effect of HBS on such kind of temporal inconsistency. Okay, so we can see that the degree of inconsistency, inconsistent scaling, if it exceeds like around 30%, then below the 30% of the degree of inconsistent scaling, actually HBS cannot perceive such kind of temporal inconsistency artifact. Okay, so only the inconsistency between the left view and right view exceed some threshold for the boundary non-paired region. Our HBS can perceive such large degree of inconsistency. Okay, so for the boundary non-paired region, we can relax the temporal inconsistent constraint to some extent. So we can allow it to have a degree of temporal inconsistency to like 30% or to around like close to 40%. Okay, so based on this observation, we can do constraint relaxation on those boundary non-paired region. Okay, so given an original stereo video, we can do region detection, and we can classify the regions in a stereo video into paired region and non-paired region. Then we can further locate the boundary non-paired region, which means that those non-paired regions as the frame boundaries. Okay, so we find non-paired regions as frame boundaries. We we construct grid flow based on motion estimation, so we find the correspondence between the paired regions, between the regions, the corresponding regions along time. Then we apply our retargeting model, which include shape constraints, temporal constraints, and depth constraints. And for those important regions, like paired regions, we impose all the constraints. But for the boundary non-paired regions, we relax constraints based on its texture type and based on some predetermined threshold. Okay, so finally we obtain our retarget video. So then we can compare the videos. So this is the original video. This is the video obtained using uniform scaling, and this is based on the Wapping method, which is called CVW. And this method enforces all the temporal correspondence be consistently retargeted, regardless of its paired region or non-paired region. And this is our method. We relax the temporal constraints on those boundary non-paired regions, so we can compare the result. Okay, the top row is the left view, the second row is the right view, and this is the depth. So we can see that the depth map and of the two methods actually is quite different from the depth map. So the depth information has been seriously distorted. And compare the depth map of the result obtained using our method with the original one, we can see that it's more consistent with the original depth map. And also we can also compare the shape distortion and compared to the to these two methods, our method can maintain a better object shape for the trend, which is the salient object. Okay. So here shows an example, then we can see another example. That view, right view, and also the depth. So the depth map from our method is the most consistent with the original map. Okay, and other method will cause some very obvious depth distortion, and also compare the shape. Our method also maintain a very good shape. Sorry. Okay, so we can also do like a pairwise comparison. This used for subjective subjective test. So we place original video here, and we place two versions of retargeting version here, and we don't indicate which version is obtained by which method. Okay, so we can compare the quality like for the shape preservation, and also the depth preservation. Okay, between our method and CVW, which including warping and cropping. So you can see that the color of the depth map here is quite different from the original color. Okay, and also here. So you can see the video again. So this is another test video, again for warping plus cropping. So the object shape here actually is quite different from the original aspect ratio. Okay, and the color here is significantly distorted. So if we don't use the cropping, we only use warping. Then we can compare the depth distortion numerically. So we evaluate the depth distortion compared to the ground truth of the original video without retargeting. Okay, so our method achieves the lowest depth distortion based on the quantitative analysis, and significantly lower than the result of other methods. So finally, we do pairwise subjective evaluation. So we invited 12 subjects to give the score for the subject's preference to which kind of versions. So around 94% of subjects prefer our methods to uniform scaling, and around 90% of the subjects prefer our method to the CBW, the warping-based method, which enforce all the temporal correspondences to be consistently resized. Okay. So we summarize the talk. From our discussion, we can see that depth information can be significantly distorted when we resize the stereo image or video. Okay, so this kind of depth distortion will severely hurt 3D viewing experience. Okay, so this is why we cannot have viewing experience as good as at home, as good as the experience at the theater. And in this talk, we presented two work. The first work is depth preserving stereo image retargeting, and we classify the stereo image into 3 different kinds of regions, and we show that resizing the 3 kinds of different regions will lead to different effects on the depth distortion. Okay, so based on the observation, we propose an adaptive method, so we can impose different constraints on different kinds of regions, so we can preserve all the shape information and the depth information in the 3D test image. Okay, and we also propose a depth-aware stereo video retargeting, so we achieve shape preservation, depth preservation, and temporal coherence in stereo video retargeting based on by our proposed temporal constraints for 3D effect preservation, and also our proposed relaxation method of the temporal constraints to some boundary non-pale regions. Okay, so this concludes my talk. So this shows the reference related to the talk. Okay, thank you. So, any questions from the audience? Yes.
刚刚说最边边的部分呢，是因为英文我有点听不太懂，就是最边边的部分最后是怎么处理掉的？
最边边的部分的话，因为人眼的话对最边边的部分比较不是那么敏感所以就是说，一般来讲的话，我们要保持说它的形状，然后它的深度跟它的时间上的一致性，然后我们会加很多的限制条件然后这些限制条件的话，彼此之间会互相冲突所以对最边边的部分的话，因为我们人眼不是那么敏感，所以我们的条件不用加的这么严格。所以在那边的话，我们就不强迫说限制说最边边的那个部分的话，跟它时间上的对应的那个区域的话，在缩放的时候要一致我们可以容许它有时间轴上的不一致的一个缩放，然后这样的话，我们在解那个最佳化的问题的时候，它就有比较多的空间，可以把这样的一个就是说这些 resizing 的一些这样的一个就是说空间给其他的限制来其他的限制条件来应用，然后这样的话就不会造成这种限制条件彼此间的冲突。
不好意思，我想请问一下，在一张图片或者一段影片 retargeting 之后，要怎么样计算它的失真程度？要怎么判断转换过后是不是好？
其实这是一个不太容易的问题因为经过 retargeting 以后，它其实已经做过挖平了然后它的尺寸跟原来的尺寸也不一样所以就是说，你怎么去评断说一个影像跟一个 video 经过 retargeting 以后，它是不是 quality 够好然后最常用的一种方式是主观评估就是用人眼来看然后你觉得说它有没有明显的失真好，那另外的话就是说，我们其实提出过一些方法用来评估，就是说它的那个 空间上跟时间上的一些失真哦，我们事实上有发表了一些论文啊，然后到目前为止还算是最准确的一些方法，然后它评估出来的那个就说这样的一个品质好坏，就是这种客观的指标的话，然后跟主观的评估的结果其实还蛮一致的啊。好，不过如果说对深度的评估的话，深度的 quality 评估其实很难评估啊，因为你叫人去打这种深度的分数，它其实很难评估啊。所以到目前为止，就是说对那个空间就对那个空间上的失真，然后对时间上的不一致性的失真，那其实都有一些方法可以评估。不过对空间来讲的话，目前没有一个好的方法可以评估，所以只能靠主观评估的一个方式。就你来看说，你觉得说这个深度上面有没有感觉上跟原来的差异很大？然后另外一种的话，就直接比较它的那个就是说深度的一个深度图，来看它深度图有没有明显的失真。当然深度图的失真不见得会造成，就是说不见得会正比到我们人眼的一个主观的一个感觉。对。
那看起来是不是要达到学分线的同时它会不会是一个缺口？就是你要达到学分，同时这也不用重写。
其实倒不一定是这样子，也就是说，以目前来讲的话，这种 discrete 的方法，就是像新 copy 这样的方法，它的 shape 的失真的确你很难避免，所以你只要用 discrete 的方法，几乎都会有 shape 的失真啊。然后 continuous 的方法，它其实它可以设法达到2种都可以保持得不错。只不过是说你要加入那个就是说好的一些 constraint， 所以我们的那个 retargeting 方法事实上是使用那个 continuous 的方法，也就是说我们也是使用挖屏的方法，只不过是说我们观察到就是说不同的区域你经过这样的挖屏以后，对它的那个深度的失真会产生不同的影响所以当你加入合适的一个这样的一个限制条件以后，它其实会避免这样的失真避免深度的失真，而且它也可以保持不错的一个外形。好，谢谢大家。